I'm Michelle.
And I'm Joy.
I live in the US.
And I live in England.
And we were across the world
on a mission.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Across the World on a Mission. And today we are talking about side notes and trips that we took while we were across the world on a mission. Of course, if you're out on a mission, you still gotta take a little vacation, right? Because everybody needs a break. And as we were talking, sometimes it did get super lonely while we were on the mission field, just because we were in a different culture. And sometimes when you're not doing the things that you're used to doing, seeing the things you're accustomed to, talking to the people that you grew up with and all your life, it becomes a little lonely, because especially when the language is different. If the language is different, sometimes you cannot express certain things that you might feel like expressing, emotionally. You might want to share. Sometimes you might want to cry, and you have to do it by yourself. Unless you have a pretty good roommate who kind of is in tune, and you guys are able to share that, which we did. But while we were there, we had certain breaks. We had Christmas break. We had when I was in Taiwan, I had Chinese New Year's. So we were able to sort of take breaks and go on trips. So I know that I had a chance when I first went to Taiwan, I had to go to Hong Kong to get my visa. So that in itself became a trip that my roommate and I went on, and that was amazing. So we did a trip. We ended up spending our time, and it was fully paid for, by the way, because my visa needed to be fixed. So I had a fully paid trip. My roommate decided to come along, and she paid for her flight there. But we had a very nice hotel. It felt like a five-star hotel. And when we got there, it was just so beautiful. And we did a lot of different trips around Hong Kong. I'll show some pictures about different places we went to. And just like when I went to England, they have the double-decker buses. They had the double-decker buses in Hong Kong. And I remember us just taking a ride up the tram and looking over, seeing Kowloon and Hong Kong Island, and just touring around Hong Kong. It was a wonderful experience. But what about you, Joy? What did you experience when you traveled?
I went to a few places. Because we're travel back in the day. I don't think I do so much travel now, but back then we were travel bunnies. Honestly, I used to love cultures, and I still do. And I remember I was lucky enough to have a friend that we knew obviously from back home, who was based in Poland, and she was teaching there English. She had her own English language center that she was running there. And so I hopped on over. She invited me obviously to come on to visit her. And I remember going there. I think one of the times I went there, because I went a few times, I went in the springtime and also summer vacation. And it was so wonderful. She lived in Warsaw, and in a place called Milanówek. And it was just absolutely stunning. Warsaw is beautiful. Poland is lovely, 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 lovely. We took the train. I took the train there from the Ukraine. I didn't fly. I took the train, and yeah, it was the train too was somewhat of a shock to me, because I didn't realize that you had different kinds of train. Like when you're doing distance traveling, their trains, you can have like four strangers in the room with you, in the cabin with you where you're traveling, and it's four beds. It's not like seats, it's just beds. So it's like you're in a room by yourself. And that was a little bit, it was a little, that's a little bit strange for me traveling like that, because obviously it was my first time. but it was just something out of a novel, it
Feels
was
like
just
luxury
something
traveling.
new. Honestly, it was so new, very, very new for me. So yeah, that's one place that we went to. Poland is absolutely gorgeous. My husband
Man, I
wanted
would
to
love to go.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning, beautiful. The whole, I think Europe is just gorgeous. Yeah, there's so many things to see.
Isn't that interesting that while you were there, you had a chance to go to Poland and then
Yeah,
you ended up marrying a Polish?
marrying somebody from Poland.
God is good.
He is so good. And one of the things too, when I noticed, remember when we were in Jamaica, we had to obviously we want to get visas. You have to get visas to go here, visas to go there. Listen, yes, we needed visa, but it was not the horror stories that we had when we were back in Jamaica trying to get a visa to come to this side of the world. It was so easy to get the Polish visa. And I guess maybe because of what I was actually doing in the Ukraine too, that helped me to kind of get these visas for these different places that I went to. But it was nothing, and the traveling too was cheaper as well. So
Yeah,
it was really good doing those trips as well within Europe while I was there. So yeah,
that's beautiful. That's
what
beautiful.
about yourself?
Um,
Anywhere?
so I did when I was in Taiwan, we took a trip to Thailand. And at the time, my cousin, he was a missionary in Thailand. So he told us, come on over, you can you can stay with me. We went to Thailand and he gave us a full tour of Thailand. And let me tell you all, Thailand, oh my gosh, that place is full of character. And when I say character, there is so much to do, to see, to hear, to know. He took us to the downtown. We actually had a chance to go to this place where there was like, they had elephants. And the elephants, they had a whole elephant show. And we had a chance to ride the elephants. And
Hmm.
I actually held a snake in my hand, guys. Yeah, at this show, I held a snake. Like it was so, oh my gosh, just talking about it. Like I held the snake, and I'm like, okay, let's just take this picture real quick and take this snake back. But I had that chance to do that. I actually had a chance to go and see like a Thai wedding, Thai kickboxing. We went sailing the ocean in Thailand. There is a market, that a river market, that literally the boat passes by and you have to jump on the boat because it doesn't really stop. So you have to jump on and get on, and then you would buy stuff on the river. It's like a river market, which was pretty cool. And I remember him taking us there, taking us to the mall there, and then taking us to a night market. Now, I have to
Hmm.
tell you guys about this night market just because it was very, I can't even find the words to describe this market, but it was very crowded. We were there, and in Thailand, you can bargain just about anything. Well, they're willing to sell you whatever they're selling you for whatever you can afford. But you got to be careful. You got to know how to bargain to get the price that you want. So there was a bargain market. We were bargaining and we were passing by. And then my cousin said to me, be careful, because around here they will just grab you and pull you into the side over there where there was a whole building. What is the building about? And in this area, they would call it the sex market.
Oh my day.
Yes. And so what they would do, they would come out and they would go through the market, the night market, and they would grab tourists and entice them to come in. And
Mm-mm.
let's just say we had to just keep our eyes and focus on where we're going while we were passing there. But that was kind of very different. And another thing about the Thai culture that we noticed there was the fact that there were a lot of people at the time. I remember someone saying this to us while we were traveling to Thailand. Are you guys going to Sodom and Gomorrah? And I'm like, what do you mean? When I got there, my cousin shared with me that a lot of people at that time would have sex changes, and they were done so well. And this is back in the days, guys. Now it's a little bit different, but back in the days when that sex change wasn't so popular, they were doing it and doing it really well. So you could be walking down the street and you could say, or somebody could say hi to you, and you could think it's a man, but then it's a woman. Or you could think it's a woman, but then it's a man. So they did it so well that you wouldn't always know that this was done. And so, yeah, so there was a lot of things that I saw there. I enjoyed the food. I liked Thai food to this day. I really love Thai food. But yeah, that's one place that we went.
Okay. For me, I was in Moscow as well. I went to quite a few places in Russia, three different parts, but Moscow was one of them. Kaliningrad is the next one. Um, there's a friend, that a mutual friend of myself and Michelle, that was also a teacher in the Russian Federation, like I was. She, when I was in the Ukraine, she was based in Russia, and she was way up, like near St. Petersburg, where it's so cold. You know, she was there as well. And also Michelle's director, like we mentioned before, she was my director as well at one point. After, obviously, after Michelle, she came over to the Russian Federation, and she was our director at the time. And so she, like she would tell Michelle about, oh, we're going to go here. We were obviously invited to Moscow, where we were going to have our agave feast. And this is where I was sharing that initially we didn't have an orientation, but this is where we got to meet all the teachers and so on that was on the trip with us in different parts of the Ukraine and, sorry, not the Ukraine, sorry. Ukraine, I was the only one in the Ukraine, but different parts of Russia. And so, you know, it was just so much fun going to Red Square, we went to Red Square, we saw the Kremlin, we saw the changing of the guards, the way they marched, and it was just so
That must have been so cool.
because I saw these things on TV, and then to be standing in the Red Square, experiencing all these things at
Wow.
Bolshoi Theater, it was just amazing. Honestly, it was out of this life. It was just from I was on another planet. You know, I couldn't believe that I was
Great
actually
experience.
physically in these places,
Yeah.
walking up, touching the Kremlin. You know, obviously it's a wall, and you know the whole. But actually being
Right.
there, where these rulers from our history ruled from, you know, was amazing,
So,
absolutely amazing.
so quick question. They speak the same language in Russia?
Yes, because obviously Ukraine was under the Russian rule, Russian Federation. At the time, we say Russian Federation in church, but they were part of the USSR. Ukraine was, and so the main language for them at that time was Russian.
Oh,
They speak Ukrainian in Ukraine, but when I went there, it wasn't so widely used. Like that, I learned Russian when I was in the Ukraine. Now,
okay.
obviously, they're very individual and they want to be identified as Ukrainians, not Russian, and also with their language. But when I was there, Russian was the main language that was spoken.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Wow. Wonderful experiences, right? For me too, when I was in Japan, I remember, we got to Christmas and we were like, I said to my roommate, we got to go somewhere. We cannot be in Asia and not travel Asia because Asia is a long ways away from home. So we planned a trip and we planned to go to Hong Kong. No, my bad, to Korea. We planned to go to Korea. And at the time, we had one of the union directors. He resided in Korea. He was working at the conference there, and he created an opportunity for us to come and for us to be able to have a place to stay. And it was just the most beautiful thing because he was the one that received me on my first trip to Taiwan. When I was going to Taiwan, I stopped in Hawaii. And when I stopped in Hawaii, he was the one that picked me up from the airport. And I remember him, Dr. Ueda. I'm not sure if he's still alive, if he's out there somewhere, but he was the most amazing man. He was so kind-hearted. And he said, "Don't worry, Michelle, you guys come on over and I'm going to take care of the place that you will stay." And mind you, I was in Taiwan and then I was in Japan. He picked me up in Hawaii for my first trip to Taiwan. And then when I was in Taiwan and I had that major accident, he came and he presented us with flowers and fruits and all of that stuff and a card and just was really, supportive and kind. And then when I went back to Japan, this is a year later, guys, he was also there to give us a place to stay for our vacation. So I will never forget this man, even though I've only met him for 2 years of my life. Crazy, but a sweet man, Dr. Ueda-san. And when we got to Korea, South Korea, he brought us to the house that we would stay, and he filled the fridge with groceries and all the stuff that we would need to eat. And then he took us out to dinner so we could have food. This is our vacation, guys. This man did not have to do none of this, but he did that. And then we went to one of the churches in South Korea. And so while I was there, we went to a church. So we're in church, myself and another student teacher, and we're sitting in church and we're looking at all the beautiful Korean dresses as they're dressed in some of the authentic national dresses. And then I see someone that I know. I'm not expecting to go to Korea and see anybody I know. I see someone I know. And she happened to be the same girl that Joy met with in Russia. She was visiting in Korea the very same time we were visiting. It's just crazy how worlds just connect, or how our worlds connect, because she had been one of my first roommates in Taiwan. Then she later met up with Joy in Russia. Then I would come back to Japan a year later and go to this church on my vacation and see her again. And we ended up spending the vacation time together, seeing the ball, well, not the ball drop, but they do the bell, they ring a bell at New Year's. We spent New Year's there and we enjoyed Korean kimchi and just had a beautiful time experience in South Korea. So yeah, these are some of the trips that we took.
Wow. Yeah, I've taken so many more, so many more. Hungry and all of that stuff. But those were wonderful, absolutely wonderful out of life experience, really, honestly, or out of body experience. Because when it's happening, you're like, is this really me? Am I really here? Am I really doing these things? So, but with all that said, what are some of the lessons, Michelle, that you've taken away from this experience, or that you've learned going through these experiences?
Just in talking about the different travels and the different places that we went to while we were across the world on a mission, it just brings me full circle to show you that, sometimes God brings people into your life just for a moment, just for a time, and not for forever. And then there are those that he brings into your life that they spend years and years, a very long time, being a part of your life. And sometimes you wonder why. Why is it that you've only met someone for a year or 6 months? And then how is it that you like you and I have been friends for years, even though we don't live in the same place. Joy lives in England and I live in the US, but we've been friends for years. So it's just interesting to see that sometimes there are lessons that God teaches us by bringing certain people into our to cross our paths, and then there are those lessons that we learn from those people who remain in our lives. Even the opportunity that we had to serve in Taiwan and Japan, we've met those people only for 2 years. Some of them I still know, and some of them I will never see again. And it's just amazing that we have an important message to share, and that whenever we get the opportunity, we should share it. And that's my lesson. Share the love of God whenever you get the chance, because you may not get the chance to share the love of God with that person again.
Yeah. Yeah, amen to that. I just wanted to add, you mentioned about just meeting someone for 1 year or 2 years. Um, I, I'm familiar with this story of someone just being sent an angel at the time that they need that particular experience. And I can say that in a lot of experiences that we had on the mission field, we're going to find that, these were angels that God placed at, particular, time in our experiences to encourage us along, or to, help us to gain that longevity that we needed in order to finish our course, that we were on. And so, these were, I know sometimes some people we won't ever see again, but it is not, it is ordained, I should say, by God to go that way, because based on, the path that he would have us trod. I also, my most important lesson from this whole experience, as we're sharing just now, is with man, it's impossible, but with God, all things are possible. You may be in a little area in the middle of nowhere, and you're thinking, how am I going to see the world, or how can I do this or that? In our minds, we have obviously finite minds, but God's mind is infinite. His whatever he can do for us, it's beyond what we can ever ask or think. And so for me, the lesson learned is with God, it is possible. So whatever you're going after, based on missionary work, or, even your walk with the Lord, with us, it's impossible. We can't see how God's going to work it out. But with him, all things are possible. He will make it come to pass. It will happen. And if it doesn't happen, it means that it was never for you. Those are some of the things that we have learned. We're so happy that you have joined us today. And we just want to thank you so much for, tapping in to listen to our experiences. We hope you'll be blessed by what we're sharing. And if so, we're just asking you to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Share these videos, let it go worldwide. Yeah? Thank you so much for joining us. See you next time on.
I'm Michelle.
And I'm Joy.
I live in the US.
And I live in England.
And we were across the world
On a mission.